Welcome to the Handmade Daily, where this is your burst of inspiration or perhaps ideas as a handmade artisan that you can apply directly into your business. My name's Elena and I'm the very proud owner of madeit.com.au, and I've got a question for you. What does consistency look like for you? And this is interesting because I think for most artisans, consistency will mean something different. Of course, we've got the time aspect, right? And that's where consistency may be for you, and whether or not you're doing it or not, but it's just about thinking about the whole concept of consistency as a business and as a brand. And it may be like, how often am I posting? How often am I turning up on social media? Is it at the same time? All of those aspects might be consistency for you. Or consistency might mean for you your brand colors. Is it your tone? Is it your language? Is it the type of photos or pictures that you do? That might be your version of consistency. And the thing is with consistency, it actually is everything, and it goes into more than that as well. One of the other things that I had in here is delivery and packaging as well. Because in this game of online, right, and learning how to sell online, one of the things that we should all be really striving for is to get repeat customers. And, some of the marketing terms, whether or not you know them or this is new to you, but there's a term that is cost of acquisition, and it talks about how much it actually costs you to get a new customer. Now, depending on how and where you sell, that's going to look different and will also be different as to how you can actually measure it. If you're using advertising as a tool, for example, it is put in there as a metric, but it's also an interesting metric, and that's perhaps a discussion for another day. But if it's the markets as an example, if you were doing an in-person market, and let's just use an easy number, right? Let's just say it was costing you $100 to be there for that day. And on this particular day, you picked up 5 new customers. Now, that technically means, if we're going to make a direct cost, right, that means that each customer that you got cost you $20 to acquire them. And we've already sort of started to get touch points with potentially, 100 other customers on that day as well. We don't yet know the cost of acquisition because we don't know if they will actually convert into a customer. But so when we're talking about that cost, it's like, the idea is from there that we go, okay, well, it might cost me $20 to gain a customer, but what's the lifetime value of the customer? And that's kind of taking into consideration how often would that customer potentially buy from you? So when we're talking about consistency, I think one of the key ones that gets overlooked or forgotten about is actually customer experience. And it's about, what is the consistency that you show for customers so that each time, not only when they purchase from you, but each time they have a touch point with you, they're getting that same consistent experience, the message, the feeling, I want to say as well, because when a customer is buying from you, more often than not, it's actually more about the feeling that they get of connecting with you and then wanting to purchase a product, or the connection that they have with the product and then them wanting to buy again. Now, strangely enough, that consistency can either be amazing, but it also can be poor, but it strangely becomes a consistency, if that makes sense as well. Like, I've got a couple of artisans that I absolutely love, right? Love their creations and have purchased off them multiple times. But interestingly enough, the delivery time is really slow. And it's not actually that the delivery is once it's actually at the post office, but that there's a delay between when I place an order and actually when they send it out. Now, as a repeat customer who happens to absolutely love their product, I'm okay with it. But I guess where I'm a little bit unusual and different to a standard customer is that I'm so invested in handmade, right? But you don't know how many customers you might be losing in that instance as well, where you do have a bit of a lag time between when they order online and when you actually ship it out. It's not about the length of shipping time, because we've all become quite accustomed to the fact that it's essentially back to snail mail. But it's in this little window here between placing the order and getting the notification to say that it's been fulfilled. But I'm kind of going off track there, but I feel like that was a really relevant thing to share. And so maybe that might be something that's relevant for you as well to take in mind. I'm not sure how you sort of operate with that. But I guess inconsistency, right? Not inconsistency. When we're talking about consistency, what we're actually creating is familiarity. And I always like to kind of equate it to, remember before we had Netflix, before we had all the channels, I know for me growing up in New Zealand, there might have been like 2 or 3 channels, but we all looked forward to particular shows on TV, and you waited and you watched it, and you really felt connected to the shows because they were so familiar, because they were at the same time each week on the same channel. It was same characters, right? And so in the familiarity, the trust began. And that's probably some of the early influences that we can talk about as well, which is TV shows where the stars became so familiar, they built trust. So for you as a handmade artisan, again, my question is, what does consistency mean for you, but also what does it look like? And how can you start building in some consistency that's really going to turn customers who are purchasing off you once to customers who are purchasing off you multiple times? And there's a whole lot of different strategy in there that we can expand on, right? That's the joy of the Handmade Daily. We're here each day. But I hope this is giving you just a little bit of food for thought. Maybe take some time, get out your handmade notebook and start writing down a few ideas about what does consistency look like for me now? And if I was going to have a really thriving handmade artisan business, what could consistency look like in order to get there? I hope you enjoyed this episode. Have a fabulous day, and I'll see you tomorrow for the Handmade Daily. Bye.